Hey everyone, and welcome back. So today we're going to be reviewing Sunrise GP on the Nintendo Switch. Now this game is an arcade-style racer that just released on April 20th of 2023, and currently it sells on the Nintendo Switch eShop for $14.99. The game is published by Game Dust, and it has a download size of 1.8 gigabytes. Now the question is, does this game deliver on its promise of being a fun, laid-back, and relaxing arcade racer? Well, that's what we're going to figure out in today's review. Now just remember, as we dive in, if you do like the video and you want to help support the channel, one of the best ways to do so is just hit that like button. So this being a straightforward arcade-style racing game, there really is no storyline whatsoever, meaning we're jumping straight into the gameplay. Now the game is aiming at being a laid-back, relaxing experience centered around racing classic European vehicles. And for the most part, at least presentation-wise, that's what you're getting. Now the racing mechanics themselves are fairly simple. No power-ups, boosts, or special items here, just straightforward racing. Now first of all, let's talk about the gameplay modes. There are 3 ways you can play, the first being Grand Prix mode. This has you racing through 20 different locations, needing to finish at least in 3rd position to unlock the next race. Successfully completing the races will unlock new vehicles and also reward you with credits. Overall in the game, there are 21 vehicles to be unlocked, and the credits you acquire can be used for aesthetic modifications to your vehicles. I was really hoping that these modifications would affect performance, but unfortunately they don't. However, they still allow for a good deal of visual customization, being able to choose the color individually of each and every part. The second gameplay mode available is the challenge mode. Now in this mode, you only race 1 lap of a circuit, trying to get the best time available. Depending on how fast you finish the lap, you will be rewarded once again with credits. There's also a daily challenge race, which will vary from day to day, and successfully completing that challenge rewards you with bonus credits. If you're looking to heavily modify your vehicles, this mode is really the fastest way to acquire credits. The last gameplay mode available is the Quick Race, which allows you to race through any one of the unlocked races in either a time trial mode or a last man standing. Now all these modes have both local and online leaderboards, giving you some extra motivation to better your times. And if you're playing with friends, there's up to 4-player local split screen also available. Now secondly, and still on the upside, I've definitely got to say that the track and vehicle selection was more than I was expecting from a budget indie title. And the level of customization was also surprising. Although I would have wished that it wasn't the exact same modification parts for each and every vehicle, with maybe only a few exceptions here and there. I also do want to mention that the visuals are a big part of the experience here, but we'll be getting deeper into that in the graphics and sound section. And before we get into those, we need to talk about the physics in this game, which unfortunately were my biggest gripe. Now, as I pointed to earlier, the basic racing mechanics here are just that, basic. You steer using the analog stick, you can accelerate, you can brake, or you can also handbrake if you want to try a little bit of drifting. But other than that, there isn't much more to the gameplay, meaning that to have a pleasant experience, you really need to nail those basic physics. And that is exactly where I started having some issues. Now starting at the second half of the tracks, there were some locations where you could really easily go out of bounds. And the races here are really treated like a closed circuit affair, meaning that if you go out of bounds, there's rarely a way to get back on track. And in the first races, when that would happen, the game would sort of teleport me back to the track, sort of like what happens when you go out of bounds in something like Mario Kart. Unfortunately, in the second half of the tracks, this seemed to stop working. And when I would go out of bounds, I would ultimately get stuck, with the only way of getting unstuck to basically restart the race. Now, if this was something that would only happen, let's say, every hour of gameplay, it wouldn't really be a big affair. But the problem is that some courses, any little error could drop you out of bounds, and one particular race almost took me 10 tries before I managed to get through it, because every time I would make the smallest mistake, I would end up having to restart the race. Now this is not only limited to one track either. Later, for example, on a wooden bridge, at one point the game just catapulted me for no reason off the track. Once again, just an odd physics issue with that wooden bridge in particular. And then other times, as you can see here, if I unfortunately flipped my car, well, I got stuck on my back. once again having to restart the race to be able to continue. Now, although I do think that these problems can be patched out, because it simply seems like the game's automatic recovery system just doesn't trigger for the moment, completing the back half of this game became extremely frustrating. And in one particular race, even the AI was getting stuck out of bounds. I would lap them 2 or 3 times over, seeing their location on the map, but never actually seen any other vehicles. Then, when I stopped to look beside the track, I would see them scurrying around out of bounds. I even once got lost dropping into nothingness. Now, I don't mean to be harping on the game, but when you're offering a simple, relaxing experience, these are the sort of things that will break that spell. And at least, for the moment, will be seriously hurting the scoring of the game. And I've got to say, it really is too bad that these issues are currently present, because at least for the first half of the game, I was having a ton of fun, and I was actually leaning towards a pretty decent score. Obviously, if these things get patched out in the future, please take what I'm saying now with a grain of salt, and check the top pinned comment to see if I amended my score. So now, if we jump into the graphics and sound. And personally, I've got to say that graphics are probably this game's biggest selling point. It uses beautiful, almost cartoon-like cel-shaded graphics for the vehicles, and all the backgrounds are a beautiful shade of pastel-like neon, really selling that idea that you're always racing at sunrise. Hint hint, the title of the game. And since this game is aiming at providing a relaxing experience, well, I've got to say, this went a long way in delivering that. At least till the frustrating issues came along that I mentioned earlier. And as I said, it really is too bad because this game has a ton going for it, if it can only iron those out. Also, for the frame rate and performance, everything was very smooth and steady. And this was consistent whether you were racing in third-party view, first-party view, or even out of the cabin. Now sound-wise, just as in the case of the graphics, it is a groovy and relaxing experience. I wouldn't say that the tracks stand out, but they definitely fit in with the vibe the game is going for. A nice little touch as well is that you can select your track using the X button while you're racing, meaning that if you're particularly fond of a track, you can have that one cycle around a little more often, or then again, skip one that you're not quite so fond of. So at least, graphics and sound-wise, this game is offering a really solid and pleasing package. So now we come to the verdict. And if this is one of the first reviews of mine that you're watching, my full review scale is available down below in the description of the video. And in the case of Sunrise GP on the Nintendo Switch, in its current state, I'm going to be giving it a 5, putting it at the low end of a playable game. Now, as I pointed to all along the review, it really is unfortunate because this game had a lot going for it. And were it not for those many issues that popped up, I would have said this game was heading towards a 7. Now, also, as I pointed to, I'll be trying to drop in every now and then and check out the top pinned comment in case I've already amended my score once maybe a major patch drops. So now I want to hear from all of you. What did you think about today's review, and are you going to be picking up Sunrise GP or maybe waiting for a patch? At the same time, on the way out, don't forget that if you did like the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and click on that notification bell so you know when all my future content comes out. And as usual, I hope I'll see you in my next video.